I've made a terrible mess of things.
He threw some things together in a beaker and out popped us.
Heyo! Yes!
Dorothy's missing.
Welcome to DC Fandome. My name is Christian Holub from Entertainment Weekly, and you're watching the Doom Patrol panel. So glad to have you all here watching virtually. I personally am very happy to be moderating this because Doom Patrol is, I would say, easily my favorite superhero show right now. Because of all the crazy things we see, season 2 alone, we've had sex demons, time-traveling roller skate parties, and a demon who thinks he's Jack the Ripper, and that's just in a couple episodes. So I'm so excited to have the cast and creators and producers here to go through season 2 and talk about the show. First up, of course, we have Mr. Timothy Dalton, who plays Niles Calder, aka the Chief. We have Matt Bomer, who plays Larry Traynor, aka Negative Man. Joy Von Wade, who plays Big Stone, aka Cyborg. April Bowlby, who plays Rita Farr, aka Elasti-Woman. Diane Guerrero, who plays Jane, aka Crazy Jane, aka Hammerhead, aka Baby Doll, aka you know the rest. Abigail Shapiro, who plays Dorothy Spinner. Karen Obalom, who plays Ronnie Evers. Riley Shanahan, who is the on-set performer for Cliff Steele, aka Robot Man. Matthew Zuck, who is the on-set performer for Larry Traynor, aka Negative Man. Jeremy Carver, executive producer and showrunner. Chris Dingus, executive producer. Tamara Becker-Wilkinson, co-executive producer. Everybody ready to get into it?
Booyah!
Yeah.
There we go. So kind of wanted to start with a generic question for a lot of you, particularly those of you who were part of the show in season 1. How did kind of the experience of filming season 2 differ from season 1? Were you a little more used to kind of the weirdness and ready to roll with the craziness, or do you still find yourself getting caught off guard by the things in scripts?
First of all, you can never really get used to the craziness and the weirdness because this show is so phenomenal and our team come up with such amazing ideas, and we're constantly looking at the scripts as actors and completely baffled as to how we can get crazier, funkier, wilder in each episode. I think for me personally, one of the best things was that we got to come back and do it all over again, and with a family in which we all resonate with and which we all now understand, and a show and a world in which we don't fully understand, but we're getting to grips in this wacky and weird world. And so, yeah, being able to come back and do it all over again, knowing what we're getting ourselves into was a big thing for me, definitely.
Well, I wanted to do the flip side of that and kind of ask Ronnie and Abigail, since your characters are introduced to the show this season. What's it been for you guys navigating this weirdness, and have your co-stars make you feel any more at home?
It's been really cool, actually. This is like my first TV gig ever, so I'm just so grateful that I had such a great experience and everything, and to be like working on this show in particular, because I've gotten to do things I've always wanted to do as an actor. So that's been really cool. And I just had such a great time reading all the scripts. They're so well written and insane, and I couldn't wait to read the next one.
Same. I mean, those scripts are just insane. I was like, how are we gonna film this? I love that my character also is like kind of like a sliver of kind of normalcy. It kind of gives you a break from all the wackiness. I feel bad for kind of taking Cyborg away from his friends, but hey, she needs love.
It was for a good reason, Ronnie.
Yeah, we've seen in like every scene you guys are in.
In the bed.
In the bed.
In the bed all the time.
You know, even though so much happened in season 1, in season 2, we're really digging in even more on some of these characters, learning things about their backstories, especially, Larry and Rita come to mind as characters. We're learning a little bit more about their family relationships and things before they joined the Doom Patrol. I'm just curious, Jeremy, Chris, Tamara, what kind of conversations did you guys have with the actors going into season 2 about how the characters are going to develop, or what more we're learning about them?
Well, I mean, first, as the writing sort of crew, we're going through for several weeks and we're figuring out character arcs and the such. And then I sat down with each of these folks and sort of like walked them through what their arc was looking like for the season, just so they have an idea, because nutty stuff, I guess, that you could say happens during the course of the season, you want them to see the sort of grounded arc that's actually coursing through all of the craziness, and just to give them a strong basis to start the season and get an understanding of beginning, middle, and end to the extent that we know it. That's what we try and do every season with the cast, to the extent that we know the answers, just so they can have a little bit of a roadmap for themselves.
Well, kind of one of the big things kind of carrying us from the end of season one into the new season is that at the end of season one, you know, we learned that Niles, the chief, who all the characters saw as some kind of parental or father figure, that he was in fact responsible for a lot of the stuff that's happened to them. The 1-2 punch of that is that we also have met Dorothy, who is kind of his justification for all those things he's done, as ways to protect her. That kind of carries through the season, I think, as the team is kind of processing that. And I'm curious, you know, Timothy, did that change your performance at all? That you know, this character is really in a position now where he has to be asking for forgiveness and leniency, maybe a little more than he's used to?
Well, it depends what you mean. I think the performance changes all the time. It's an organic thing. And in one situation, you'll behave one way. In another situation, you'll behave in a completely different way, which is good. It brings texture and depth. The new is excellent. Surprise is excellent. And we get plenty of surprises on the show.
Definitely. I'll throw to Diane, because Jane is a character who seems to have kind of relied on the chief a little bit for being a grounded presence in her life, despite the kind of a horrible history she has with parenting. Not being able to rely on the chief, how has that kind of changed Jane's decision making this season?
She's relied on the chief a lot, and I think that we see that starts to change even in first season. So she decides to rely on other methods to cope, and you see where that gets her, and then eventually she sees that she needs this family. I mean, as she starts to empathize with everyone else's trauma as well, and she sees that it's not just her who's having all of these, or this emotional, going through this emotional roller coaster on her own. She sees that maybe the chief is not her primary source of protection. I think she starts relying on the team.
And of course, the chief is far from the only parental figure in a lot of these characters' lives. They've kind of inherited some messed up things from their parents, which we see this season. And so I'm curious, you know, April, Joyvon, Abigail, can you guys speak at all to kind of how your characters are reckoning with kind of their parental relationships and what they've kind of been left by their parents?
I think Rita suffers from imposter syndrome. And I think her whole life being informed that her mother got her these jobs by doing lewd acts. She doesn't know where she stands. She doesn't feel like she belongs anywhere. And so it's informed her decisions. And that's why in season one, she's such a narcissistic person, because she's protecting that idea that she has of herself, that she's not worth anything. And so in season two, she starts to let her guard down. She starts to actually look at her past and see the damage that the, you know, parental figure in her life has caused, and she claims it. And so she starts to see these powers as not a weakness, but an ability that she can use. And instead of getting stressed out, now she starts using it to stretch and to grow. And the only way she can do that is to look at her damage and to acknowledge it and grow past it.
I think Big Stone is helping her to control that or work out that element. Not to take any credit for it, guys. He's helping her, you know, maintain her gloop. And I think for Vic, you know, the biggest thing is for him is that Niles was essentially his a father figure to him, and I really look at Silas as more of a parental guardian than a father or than a dad. The relationship between Vic and Silas is very much a relationship in which warrants progress, as opposed to actually looking at the emotional well-being of Vic, and that's a constant back and forth. Hence why Vic decides to stay with the Doom Patrol. He's now got a family. You know, he hasn't felt, especially since the accident, that he has a family. You know, and that's why he's seeking for that and goes off and is against it at first, but once he does come around to come in and meet in the Doom Patrol, he starts to feel and see that void in which is starting to be filled from a family in which he doesn't essentially feel like he has, which allows him to be more open and to see what all of the other gang are doing and how they're dealing with what they've gone through, which encourages him to start to take on this PTSD, hence him now leaving the Doom Patrol in season 2 to grow up, essentially.
Abigail, did you want to add?
Well, Niles is the only person who's really taken care of her for all these decades. So she loves him so much, but throughout the season, she realizes that he's not necessarily the person she thought he was, and he's locked her away for so long. So she's missed out on the world. And she realizes that her father isn't perfect, and nobody really is. And her father just doesn't want to see her grow up.
I'm so glad to have Matthew and Riley on this call, because I want to shine a spotlight on kind of what you guys do on the show as the on-set performers for Negative Man and Robot Man. You know, could you guys just talk a little bit about how in general you kind of, you know, physically perform these characters and kind of imbue these personalities and themes of the show, even to their movements? And Matthew and Matt, if you guys kind of want to talk about your collaboration off of that.
Collaborating with Matt has been really cool because he's just been so open, and like we have conversations about like what the character's feeling and what the relationship is to this person, like John in the first season, and just like how we think overall things are affecting Larry with the spirit in the relationship. So it's very open and like communicative thing where we get to really get into like the nitty gritty of what we're feeling. And then, you know, the way I like to come at it is like, you know, your body holds your emotion. And so it's just kind of like you try to think about how you would witness your emotion every day and how you would witness your an emotion in another person. And then you just kind of find where that lives in your body. And that becomes kind of like the posture, the speed, the rhythm, all of that goes into portraying that. I mean, I kind of have a lot of help too, because I have neutral mask. So like the facial expression kind of assumed almost from the posture I give it, from the rhythm, from the speed. And all of that is so easily informed by like what the writing says and what these relationships are. And it really is just like you're just acting, right? But then you're thinking about it in terms of, instead of, oh, how do I say this line? It's like, oh, how do I make sure that this physicality aligns with the way that the line I think would be said? And then it's just like, okay, now I take it to Matt and trust that he knows exactly what he's doing. And of course he does, because it's magic when it comes together, and the way that it's the synergy hits. It's just like, it's great.
Yeah, what I love about this job is it is a true collaboration with another artist on the role. It's not a one-sided mandate. We'll have a discussion. Sometimes I'll lay down an initial track, but Matthew's so brilliant, and what he finds on set physically is oftentimes so inspiring to me that I'll go in and kind of vibe off of what he does. So it really is a back and forth, and I'm just so lucky that I get to work with him on the role.
Like when you put on the suits that LJ Shannon and creative characters engineering built, like they're just so beautiful, and they have this kind of enigmatic like thing where Matt and I's job is to kind of like breathe life into this beautiful, in my example of Robot Man, he's just like a husk of a thing. You see him on the side and you're like, whoa, that's amazing. But all of a sudden, you know, when you're in it, it's like how to, organize your body, you know? And then similarly to like the Matt Squared situation, like with Brendan and I, like I try to think about it where I'm like, okay, I'm not necessarily like making choices Riley would make, right? I'm acting through a Brendan Fraser filter. So something I started doing accidentally early in my process was like, I don't know, I started rewatching Brendan Fraser movies, man. And like, you know, like watching The Mummy, like, Benny, what the f***, you know? And like, I started doing a mimic of him, and it just sort of like feels like it comes together. And we also, on top of it, Brendan and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't share it here. We like went to the same 900 person arts college, had the same mentor while we were there, and we both have the same birthday.
Wow.
If I wrote this in a book or a play or a show or something, you'd be like, that's hackneyed, that's fake. But it's just like, It's just life. It's wild.
I want to piggyback off too what Riley said about the costumes too, because like, I mean, for every actor, I'm sure they'd all agree, like your costume informs your performance so much. Like the way that you move and all of that type of stuff is always a factor in the character. But I think even more so with these things, it's like Riley, you have to move a certain way in some situations because of the bulk and the size and the weight of that. And the same thing with me, it's like some things in Javan as well, with his sight and things like that, it's like some things you're kind of like, oh, well, this is how I would have to be in this situation. And then it informs and becomes like almost a character and emotional choice because you justify it and you find, well, how does this work? And now how can I make this work for the scene in the moment? And it really is like the costumes are such a helpful, incredible part of what we do.
I realized early on though that Matthew and I were going to need separate costumes because at first we only had one. We had to share it. And the first time I wore it, it was a stunt scene and I had to duck and it tore from the ass down to the ankle. And I realized I may have a little bit more kadunk than Matthew has done. So they're gonna need a second suit for sure.
Awesome. Well, we mentioned a little bit earlier, Cyborg and Ronnie kind of having some alone time this season. Even more than their kind of personal stuff, I've been very interested by kind of the conversations they're having with each other about what justice looks like and how much of justice is about punishment, you know, punishing criminals, punishing people in a relationship who lie to you, versus kind of forgiveness and giving people a second chance.
Damn, girl. Those are some moves. Cops are on their way.
What? No, what? I didn't ask you to call them.
On a mugging? It's kind of standard procedure.
He's just a kid. Do me a solid. Give him a second chance.
According to his priors, this would be his third chance.
Then give him a third chance. The more this kid is in the system, the harder it is for him to get out of it.
And if he doesn't experience the consequences, then he's heading there anyway.
Are you really that confident in your moral compass?
No. I just didn't know this mugging was my only chance to solve systemic injustice in America.
All I'm saying is this kid needs more protection than I do.
So there's a lot going on, you know, in their relationship and their interactions. What do you guys like about exploring?
I think it's beautiful that we get to have these nice, intimate moments in the middle of the world about to end. I'm really in love with Cyborg and Ronnie because they're so different in the way they think about things, but at the same time, they're so similar. Like their trauma is very similar. I mean, they met at a trauma group, for crying out loud. So I just love that they're kind of like opposites attract, and she's teaching Cyborg a different way to go through things. And they both have a genuine heart, but they may have, you know, done things in the past that are just different. But I think it's the genuineness of their heart is what brings them together because they're both good people. It's just Ronnie has done some things and she knows it. So I just think that it's a beautiful act of Black love. You don't see that a lot. And I just think it's a nice surprise to see in the Doom Patrol. Like you wouldn't expect it. Like these two Black, beautiful people just loving on each other. And that's really important to me. And I love that the producers decided to do that. And I'm always grateful for that. So I just think their story is incredible.
The reputation was a huge thing for me, and seeing that Black love on screen, and also an access point for Vic, seeing Ronnie as what is the closest reflection for Vic in terms of seeing someone else. You know, I can look at Robot Man all day long, but it's not exactly a direct reflection. But when it comes to Ronnie and seeing someone in which has experienced very similar things, or, you know, has an outward appearance of something which is so similar to Vic, he relates on another level. And I feel like even being amongst Doom Patrol and seeing what these characters have been through, there was one level of entry, but then meeting and being able to come into relationship with Ronnie allowed Vic to really start to see a mirror reflection of himself and start to learn to love himself more. I think that's one of the biggest things that I feel like Vic gets from that relationship. And then, you know, we all know that only when we love ourselves do we get to love others. And so it allows him to express outwardly for that connection with Ronnie. And it's just so beautiful to, you know, play alongside Karen, who is phenomenal, as you all can see. And we had a great conversation about how this was going to physically work when it came to knowing that Cyborg was going to get down. But we cracked it.
You ready?
Booyah.
Booyah.
So I wanted to throw to some of the absolute craziest, most colorful characters, which I would say are probably Jane and Dorothy, who are a little similar in terms of their power both gives them access to different allies, whether it's personalities inside themselves or these imaginary friends. Recently, we've seen them kind of bump up against each other a little bit in the show. So I'm just curious for Diane and Abigail, how do you guys think that Jane and Dorothy see each other? Do they see each other as possible sisters, friends, or as like rivals?
I think that there's a lot of similarities there. Jane was very, very attached to the chief, and you see some of the different personas have different relationships with Chief as well, especially Baby Doll, and where we saw Dorothy and Baby Doll have that connection, and then saw some like life-changing things for the both of them that caused them to make some major decisions. I love that relationship there because we both, I care about Dorothy. I care about the fact that she's a little girl, and I think that Jane understands what it is to feel like trapped and what it feels like to be deceived and locked away or traumatized. And so I think that she finds a lot of she's empathetic towards Dorothy, and of course they have that connection to the chief.
Yeah, and I think like looking at it from like a family aspect, they're very much like sisters. Because when you look like at a sister relationship, there's that fighting, and you get that fight between Dorothy and Baby Doll. And these are two little girls with these powerful, destructive powers they have really no control over. So when you put them two together, like, of course sisters fight. I fight with my sister all the time. When we were small, we would like pull out each other's hair and stuff like that. So like when you put two girls together with these powers, it's not gonna necessarily always end up well.
I think I might be a little bit too big for some of your games. Your dad is a bad man. What? He hurt me. He hurt everyone in this house, and that's why everyone hates him. That's not true. It is. He's bad. Your dad is a bad man.
There we go.
I was like, what?
That was,
I saw that.
Baby Doll was like, Baby Doll was like, yeah, that's why everyone hates him. I'm like,
That scene turned out so creepy. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
It was so creepy. I just have to say I loved that episode for all of us. I thought it was so fun.
And
So
it was
awesome.
so fun, like working with you for the Dorothy Baby Doll scenes where we just gotta let out our inner little kid.
How are you, Cliff?
Top shelf. So are you two running buddies now? Two little masters of disaster? Nice.
Yes, sir. We're very close friends.
Hey. Man, you missed out on a killer tea party.
What?
What?
This is DC Fandome, so we have some questions from fans as well.
Hi, my name is John Tharp from Lynchburg, Virginia, and my question is, was the writer's room a no bad ideas sort of space? Because there seem to be no limits on the Doom Patrol show, and I absolutely love it.
I feel like it's only bad ideas space. And just case in point, I wrote an episode where the villain descends on a crowd in a giant butt balloon, and that made it to film. So.
Hi, my name is Austin. I'm from Hawaii, and my question is, will the Doom Patrol ever acknowledge themselves as the Doom Patrol?
Just from my perspective in the writer's room, I try to never think of this show necessarily as a superhero show. But I would think if you had superpowers, it would be impossible for that not to cross your mind, like whether it's Steel and Stone or Rita trying to master her powers. I think that might be in the back of everyone's mind, but I think they're a long way off from being able to get their own shit together to worry about other people's problems.
Chris, way to plug your own episodes there. That was very good. Well done.
I don't know any of the other episodes. I just focus on me.
Oh, Chris, we have so much in common.
Yay, narcissism!
Hello, my name is Andrew Garcia, and I love Doom Patrol for being so bizarre with the wild adventures they go on. But to me, this show hits the highest points with the theme of mental health, being that the characters have such traumatic origins. What have you learned from your characters, and what does mental health mean to you as actors?
Well, just, destigmatizing mental health is so important, I think, and is something that is super underrated. I love that our show does that. And I love that it's not just, at first I kind of went in thinking it was just going to be, well, Crazy Jane, right? Because she has all these personalities and she has DID. But then you see that it's all of us, really. And I really think that speaks to a lot of people, because we all really do, as human beings, need mental health. It's important for us in our day to day, so that it's important for our survival. Jane has certainly taught me a lot about the self-care that I need, and not to just blow something off like, oh, well, whatever, I'm sad, it's not important. It is important, and it's important to take care of yourself, and it's important to make sure that we give that value for everyone. Nothing is too little or too big. And we never stop growing. I mean, we're all like on the show, we're like 100 years old or something, or plus, Dorothy. And so we see that we just never stop growing, and it's never too late to heal. In fact, it's imperative.
All you gotta do is talk to me. What's going on in there?
This codependent routine is getting stale, Cliff. Go, stay, do whatever you want, just don't do it for me.
Okay, for the record, I am not dependent on anybody. I am my own robot.
Wow. Oh man.
Nice job, Armando. Whoa.
Armando.
Armando.
Why is Robot Man so cool? Man.
That is awesome.
It is awesome. Look at Rita, pensive as ever, just next to Larry, as we should be.
I like the side eye from Niles. He's like, I destroyed every one of these.
Francisco. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Wow.
Ooh, that's dope.
Francisco, can I get that so I can hang it up on my wall? It's so good. Whoa. So cool.
Wow.
Oh, that's dope.
That's amazing.
Very edgy.
Yeah, very edgy.
It's like the most super heroic that this bunch has ever looked.
Like, it looks like we're about to fight, but we're in line to get tacos or something.
I think to wrap up, I wanted to play a really quick game with you guys based on some of the most insane characters that have popped up in Doom Patrol, such as Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man, who was haunting the margins all last season. DC and Doom Patrol have a lot more crazy characters where that came from. So I just wanted to run 3 by you, and you guys tell me if you think they're a real character from DC Comics or if they're totally made up.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
The first one I wanted to run by you. Name is Ambush Bug. Real name is Erwin Schwab. His origin is that he found the Ambush Bug suit and took on the role. Superpowers are teleportation, dumb luck, cosmic awareness, and invulnerability. Does that sound like a real DC character or a fake one?
Real.
Sounds real.
It is 100% real.
Dumb luck gave it away.
Yeah. If that's not the spirit of comics, yeah. All right. This one's name is Disgust Machine. Real name, Quinn Harrison. Origin, famous chef turned hideous superhuman after accidentally eating mutant eggs. Superpowers are super speed, shapeshifting, and enhanced smell and vision. Does that sound like a real character or a fake one?
That's a fake character.
Fake.
It's fake.
Yeah.
The name is Lump. Real name is Lump. Origin is that it was created by a character named Granny Goodness to trap a superhero called Mr. Miracle. Superpowers are telepathy and illusion casting, and it may or may not have gone mad by seeing its own hideous appearance. Does that seem true?
Real.
Real.
That's real. You guys are 3 for 3. Thank you guys once again for all assembling for this virtual DC Fandome panel. This is the cast and the creators of Doom Patrol, the first 2 seasons of which are available now.